Let's go. You know, Phil, our episode last week had a 2.5-minute song intro.
Yeah, and there was not one complaint.
You know that bias where there's always the picture of the plane and the place where it gets shot down?
Once again, where was the shooting? In your analogy, what was shot down here?
In my analogy, there wouldn't be a complaint because people didn't listen because of that first 2 minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Even though people were responding to the topics we discussed during the episode.
Oh, some people obviously listened.
I'm killing this fam, top of the game, fresh hot like the furnace, better than never before. I'm killing this fam, the top of the game, hot like the furnace, better than never before.
Alright, let's start the episode, man. Let's go.
Killing the game in these streets. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to tonight's episode of Two Broke Twimbos. We're having a great time. We are recording relatively late in the day, so we are quite tired, Phil, you know.
No complaints. Let's go. No complaints. Let's go. Our listeners have complained. That's actually what they've complained.
No,
if you just, that
Phil,
diagram
you
of
see,
shot down
Phil,
plane,
uri kumanya seyuchita unge munhu announcer zvematins. Hold on, uri kumanya. I was saying, since we're feeling tired, then it's important for us to get the energy up in the room.
And that's why we have Miley Cyrus.
I wasn't gonna play music. I was gonna ask if everyone is.
You know what? It's beautiful and a testament to how innocent you are that when I said bring up the energy with Miley Cyrus, you thought I was talking about music. That's great.
Are you talking about that white girl, Christina Aguilera?
My jury too loud, playboy, I can't hear you.
So, I want to reenact, or at least help you understand the difficulty of trying to explain the whole concept of this to my wife.
What concept?
So I realized that this was more of a mainstream thing in the mid 2000s.
What?
Maybe late 2000s, let's say, and early 2010s. The concept of white girl, or the thing of just using a white girl's name in reference to, you know, white powders.
Time, your wife has some interesting blind spots as a hip hop head.
I promise you, ask someone who's like younger than 34, let's say, 33.
But it's a common parlance that travels today, bruh. They still talk about it like that.
Among us. Among us. So I thought this was pretty straightforward. So I mentioned, she's like, what are you talking about? And then I tried to explain it. And as I was explaining, no, you have to understand, you know what I'm saying? The thing is they were selling drugs, right? And then the thing is, they were referring it to as white girls. So what then happened is they started naming the actual white girls. So they'd say stuff like, yo, this is that Britney Spears. And you know, as I was explaining, I was like, time.
This is why she didn't like the Clips album. This is why she didn't like the
I was
Clips
like,
album.
time. What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us as a generation? Anyway, we have to get the energy up, Phil. We have to get the energy up. So I gotta ask you, and I gotta ask the listeners, I gotta ask the lurkers, I gotta ask the haters and the lovers.
Tell me
Vadiwa vechikafu and the. Did you see that?
The what now?
So they put up a sign in Food Lovers.
Yes. Lovers of food. I was actually in Food Lovers earlier today. They took it down. It was down by the time I got there, I think.
Mudiwa wechikafu. Anyway, I was just about to ask, y'all.
Good to go. Sound a big thing, them. Get mad now.
Let me hear a drum play.
Monday. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of your favorite podcast. This be Two Broke Twimbos. My name is Danny That Guy, aka Danos the Mad Titan, aka Denford Wegumaraini, aka Denimbi, my life, your entertainment, aka Yo. Did we just watch like Five Nights at Freddy's? Like a mannequin speak out in the first world? Or aka Akuna Mumundi Danmu? Let's start off with celebrating Africans, mostly Zimbabweans, but we like to also look at other Africans doing big things all around the globe. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to my top shatter, close friend, bestie, Sikandar Raza. So this week, the International Cricket Council announced their world-ranked number one all-rounder in the ICC and the ODI player rankings, and it was none other than Zimbabwe's very own Sikandar Raza. He's been in the game for a while, and it's about time he's recognized. He's already 39 years old, but he's had an incredible run, especially in the most recent matches. I think he against Sri Lanka recently in Harare, he did his thing. He scored 151 runs and took a wicket. So huge shout out to Sikandar Raza, as he's currently ranked right now, as we speak, the number one all-rounder in the world for ODIs is a Zimbabwean cricketer, Sikandar Raza. Big ups, my man. Shout out to you. Okay, so Phil, your mic is doing that thing again. I can't hear you.
Sorry, guys, we're just dealing with a little technical difficulty. And after much problem solving, we discovered the problem was actually Dan. It usually ends that way. So we're telling a story about Sikandar Raza. And usually stories with Dan and I, when the call starts with either Dan or myself calling the other party and starting saying, yo, pan shit with this hustle, trying to make some money, it's not going to end well. And that's kind of how things started. Dan called and said, yo, pan shit. He's like, yo, we just got to go meet some Bali. He said he's doing some sort of like a presentation dinner thing. He'll put us on the guest list. We'll go. We'll meet with him. Blah 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 blah. So I asked Dan, yo, like, what's the get up for this thing? He's like, dude, super cash. I'm damn near wearing super cash clothes.
I did not say that.
I'm wearing super cash clothes. I was dressed like I was coming from a Saturday. I was like, I bet. Get to the venue. I'm seeing people dressed to the nines.
No, this is what happened. My man said, so I called Phil. I was like, listen, there's a deal. This dude wants to hire our services, but he wants to meet with us first. So let's go meet him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from my perspective,
why are you rebutting my story before I even finish my story?
Because it's wrong. So we're just going to have a business meeting. But continue.
Exactly. We're having a business meeting, but we're dressed like we're coming from our children's sports day. Anyway, we pitch up. People are dressed to the nines, blah, blah, blah. Then they're like, yo, you guys are so-and-so's guests. Your tables are the VVIP tables. Go sit over there. But we don't know anyone at these tables. Plus, the person we're meeting isn't there. So both Dan and I are like, nah, it's cool. We'll chill here in quote-unquote Bombera. But keep in mind, this is Bombera of a super elite event. And then we'll go, when he arrives, go to the VVIP section. I bet. So while we're mingling, Dan and I stick out like some sore-ass thumbs. like we really sticking out like some. Everyone is dull. Like there's two types of dress. People either dressed like they're going to a cocktail dinner or an award ceremony. And there are people that are specifically dressed for the type of event this was. I'm not going to put too much detail out there because then it'll, provide too much information. People can triangulate with. So, but then, you remember what people were dressed like. And then people are giving their speeches, they're giving their presentations, they're trying to get money out of people, because of, high rollers, big monies at this event. Then Dan's homie arrives. He's like, yo, why are you guys out here? Come to my table. We get to the table. The table is literally front of house, right under the lights, next door to the DJ and the MC. Like literally every time the MC is speaking, they're speaking right into our ear, like this dad.
Let's put it this way. The CEO of the company hosting the event, that was his table.
Yeah, so like Dan is sitting next to the CEO, I'm sitting next to the wife. We hopped up and the CEO's like, you guys know we need to hustle. This is what we're doing. You guys seem like you're smart. He starts striking up conversations. He's surprised that Dan and I are able to respond and talk about the things he's doing. He's like, you guys know this. I bet. Can you do this? Blah, 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 blah. Hobnobbing, mingling, networking, as the kids say. We're doing our thing. Then a big man comes over to the table. Says hi. He looks like a VIP. We show our respect. Bam. They're like, yeah, that's a so-and-so in government. He's like, a very big. Let me just say, when this man moves, he may move with the security detail in government level. They were like, pleasure to meet you, sir. Thank you, blah, blah. I said, all right, cool, no, cool, whatever. Once again, Dan and I severely underdressed. So imagine meeting a very high-ranking government official who's dressed in a three-piece suit, and we are there in our shirts and the tracksuit bottoms, literally.
Well, I stay ready. I don't know. You were the one who came in sweatpants and.
Dan, what are you? You were damn near wearing the same thing. So
I stay ready, man. As a man, you got to be ready for whenever money comes. Hustler mindset, innit? Hustler mindset.
So then now, MC comes over to the table and like, yo, we're about to get over to the wards part of the evening. Is our guest of honor here? They're like, nah, not yet. Dan's guest calls this person and says, yo, my man, so yeah. He's like, no, I'm pulling up. I'll be there in a second. I bet. We're now eating. At this point now, the food has come. Keep in mind, they keep coming, the wait staff keeps coming to us, offering us food. Both Dan and I are like, nah.
I mean, we're not even really supposed to be here. So
and
this
the
is
host
kind of
keeps saying, yo, guys, sit tight for a bit. Enjoy yourselves. We're going to have our meeting. Let me just handle my business. Make sure the guest of honor arrives. Make sure we deal with them. Once that's done and dusted, we can pull away, have our meeting, conclude our arrangements. I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. Eventually, Dan like, you know what? We've been offered food like 6 times. It's great. And this food looks pretty nice. Let's have some swag. So the food now comes. As the food arrives, there's a little bit of a rustle, a little bit of a hustle bustle. We see people turning. We see people, turning their heads, whatever. Who do we see pulling up? None other than Zimbabwean cricket captain, Skandaraza. And not only is my homie pulling up, guess where he's coming? Dead ahead to our table to be placed right next to Dan, looking directly at me from across the table. So we're like, hey, what's up? He's like, yo, Dan, Phil, nice to meet you guys. You cool? So how'd you know these people? We're like, no, we know so-and-so. I was like, I bet, no problem. I'm just coming from a game. Yeah, I just one man of a match. Yeah, but I'm not going to be here long because we got another ODI tomorrow. So, busy. I was like, no, we understand. Cricket captain, represent for the country. We love it. Do your thing. He's like, I bet. Tells the MC, yo, my mans, what time? Because I need to go. He's like, sit tight. Anyway, order some food. Bet. So now we're just chilling, trying to do small talk with Skandaraza, So, you play cricket, eh?
You hit it hard, eh? You hit that ball hard, eh? Yeah. No, but fun fact, there's a picture on my Instagram. I don't know if I still have it up. Maybe I took it down. Where I think I made one of the greatest captions I've ever made on an Instagram post. In fact, I'm going to read it for you, Phil, if I can find it, because I was quite proud of how I put it together. Sometimes the caption takes just as much time as preparing the picture. Let me see if I can quickly scroll to it. I don't have that many posts, so it shouldn't take too long. Here I am standing with Skandaraza when he came for an interview. Zimbabwe cricket captain. I said, hey, look who I met today, Skandaraza of Zimbabwe cricket. Just before he goes with the rest of the chevrons to the Netherlands and Ireland for their ODIs and T20 matches, I was able to give him some advice. Go for the 3-pointers and always make sure to aim for the top corner to avoid the goalkeeper. And don't be selfish past the ball. You're welcome, Zimbabwe. Give me King Kandora's spot right now. Give it to me right now.
I've never seen a fatherless a childless individual drop so many dad jokes. It's wild.
Africans doing it big. Zimbabwean filmmaker Jabulani Mudzova was honored a couple of weeks ago with the Best Director Award at the prestigious Sign Paris Film Festival for his short film Residue. An emotionally layered, visually striking work that explores the fragility of the human mind as it navigates grief, memory, and unresolved trauma. So huge congratulations as well to Jabulani Mudrova. Okay, Phil. Look, last week we opened up a can of worms, Phil. I think we were the only podcast really to bring light to this story of South African influencers promoting this.
Yeah, we were the only ones like asking the hard questions.
I don't think anyone was really paying attention to this.
Yep.
And as a podcast, we dare to venture where none will go. So as a quick recap, last week we spoke about several South African influencers, including the one who basically, I think, made it go really mainstream, which is Cyan Bougie. And we spoke about a Russian education program called the Alabuga Start Program that several influencers flew to Russia and made a lot of dubious, spurious claims about. And as you can imagine, when people heard that there's this somewhat shady education program in Russia for South African women, exclusively South African women aged 18 to 22, question marks were raised. Anyone who would have done a cursory Google search would have found that, hang on, there's a lot of weirdly scandalous things surrounding this Alabuga Start program. And in fact, there's people who've come out and have accused it as being a front for human trafficking. Anyway, so this obviously led to a whole situation in South Africa. When we spoke about it last week, it was shortly after the backlash when the videos came out. And since then, we've had a week. Stuff has happened in that week. Including the South African government being involved, including the police also being involved and doing investigations. I don't think anything has conclusively come out, but a lot of the influencers have come out and made apologies. But the apologies are... Look, I'm not going to lie to you guys.
Some of them are barely even apologies, bro.
I didn't watch any Cyan Bougie video. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I relied on people giving me summaries in the comments. So I don't know if this is true or not, but someone said that Cyan Bougie said that God was using her to expose this.
Word. All right, cool.
When I heard that, I was just like, yo, I don't know if I should take this seriously or not.
Okay, once again, Cyan Bougie. Why would you take anything she says seriously?
So... I think the question that we asked last week was, we were trying to have a deep dive and discussion about whether there would be any legal liability or accountability from a legal perspective. Because I think from a moral perspective, we all agree that this was wrong and, they should face backlash for it. There was some backlash. I saw people were losing literally hundreds of thousands of followers. Some people had their entire accounts deleted because TikTok don't play when it comes to that kind of stuff. So who was, I don't know which influencer was it that was crying over her lost TikTok account?
All of them. Well, there was Seema.
Yeah, I think it was Seema. Yeah. So when I was listening back to the episode, I was like, I think it sounds like we're being a little bit soft on the influencers. Because when I was listening back, it sounded to me like I was saying,
I literally called them a room full of idiots. How was I being
so did I. I said that as well. But when I was listening back, it sounded like I was saying, you can't really blame them sometimes because what if they're just stupid? Or, what if they were not sure? And when I was listening back, I was like, that's not what I was trying to communicate. What I was trying to communicate is, from a legal perspective, is there something to actually book them on? So I just really wanted to add that extra level of clarity. I do absolutely think that, look, if you're an influencer and you're taking a gig and you don't do any due diligence and there's people being harmed because of the thing that you promoted, even if you were ignorant, you should still face the music. You're still at fault. Even if you didn't know, you didn't do it maliciously, you did it from a place of ignorance, but people are being harmed because you didn't do due diligence. Let's say you did due diligence and despite your best efforts, this was just hidden so well that you were unable to uncover the conspiracy that was happening beneath the surface. Maybe I can have a little bit of sympathy that you were just as fooled as the rest of us. But the fact that you didn't do any, you didn't even just type it into Google and look at the first 5 things that came up.
And that's the wild part.
Then, yeah, to me, ignorance is not an excuse that I didn't know or I couldn't tell or I'm just stupid. Fine. That explains why it happened. But in my opinion, that makes you just as harmful as someone who did it deliberately. But yeah, so what I was trying to talk about is from a legal perspective, from actually getting arrested or, facing legal consequences. Is there a leg to stand on? But for me, from a moral perspective, absolutely. And then the other thing that I think we didn't spend a lot of time highlighting, because we spent so much time talking about the inadequacies of the influencers, is just the importance of us as consumers. You got to be smarter, man. You can't. I've used this analogy on the podcast before. If you go to a dangerous part of town and you get robbed in that dangerous part of town, you're not the perpetrator. You're not the bad person. You're not necessarily the one at fault. But come on, you gotta also be aware. You gotta be aware of dangers, because unfortunately, outrage is not going to fix people who don't care about harming people or hurting people. So, yes, it's not your fault that you got robbed, but you also have to at some point be like, you know what? I gotta be smart about some of the decisions I make, because there are bad people out there. So come on, man, you can't don't just go take up an education program without Googling it at least.
So
that's what surprised me. Phil, if you just Google Alabuga Start, right now, before, outside of, even if you set the date parameters to before this whole blow up with this situation, there was so much shady stuff already. But yeah, anyway, go on. You're about to say something.
So I was going to say, in addition to everything that said, as the story progressed, this was the first time I've watched a Mac G podcast episode.
Yeah.
So Mac G decided to have a bunch of some of the influencers that were involved in this program. A lot of them are the ones he's associated with, because Sima has a podcast on his network. And then he had Munaka. There was Zeus, a couple of people.
Munaka. That's a whole...
Oh, you know what?
Remember I watched that. What was that show? That Love Never Lies South Africa show that she was in.
What? I don't know this thing, but okay.
Okay, anyway, yeah, that's where I know her from. That's why. So every time I see a clip of hers come up, I'm just like, yeah.
Was she the drama?
Yes. But frankly, everyone was the drama. So that's not saying.
And so in conjunction with this, another person that they let on this show was a guy called Sia, which raised my eyebrows, because I know Sia. I haven't necessarily dealt with him. I've had a couple of meetings with him. I will reserve my comments from the meetings, but I've drafted many professional reports and emails about those meetings, and I'm like, not make sure. That's all I'll say on that. So Sia's on the show, and Mac G immediately takes the stance that these influencers are the victims, not the potential less popular, less wealthy people that are part of this program who may be involved in, at best, some sort of labor exchange program, at worst, sex trafficking, forced labor situation. And then they give their stories. And Seema, for example, who went to Russia, and she's like, yo, I went to Russia. I spoke with these girls. I saw where they work. I had a liaison. Everything looked like it was on the up and up. So to me, that was my due diligence. Plus, I've done work with this agency that contracted me with Sia. So I felt like things were going to be cool. And then that was that, which is a somewhat plausible story.
Mm-hmm.
Until, as you do what Dan says, if you just did a little bit of research, you would have been like, yeah, maybe not. But also, and someone on the panel on Mac G's episode highlights this, like, hey, just a heads up. When you do these things, these trips to check the legitimacy of something, if you have a handler and you have a set itinerary with a set travel schedule, they are curating your experience. So you are not seeing the real deal of what's going on the ground. You're seeing what they want you to see.
Yeah.
And just as a heads up, don't ever use that as a complete basis for what something looks like or operates in the future, because you're getting the PR curated version of whatever that thing is. But the ongoing theme, which I found fascinating throughout this episode, because Mac G was obviously creating with Saul, was the influencers are trying to feed their families. The influencers aren't at fault for choosing to be part of this dubious program. The influencers have lost their accounts. The influencers are basically the victims. And one of the perpetrators, or one of the guilty parties, not only is this program, but is the agency and Sia, which I found interesting.
I mean, I saw a clip of. Okay, again, obviously I don't know the context around it, but I think it was Mac G and Saul, and it was Mac G essentially flaming influencers and saying all they care about is the money.
I need more context.
As in there was a clip from his podcast where Mac G was saying all these influencers care about is the money. So it sounded like he was attacking them.
I also don't know which episode was this before. Or after?
So they were talking about this whole situation. I don't know which episode it's from, but they were talking about this situation. So they were talking about the Alabuga Start Program and what. I also saw another clip. It looked like it was a different show. Another clip where they were interviewing these guys. So maybe it was different episodes. I don't know. But
so the other thing that he was highlighting, I think maybe in reference to the money, was the fact that they've lost this money. But they now then bring on Sia, and the catch-22 and the hilarious part is Sia and Mac G have history.
Yeah.
And twice during the episode, Mac G is supposed to be asking Sia a question about this Alabuga Start Program. It's like, but actually Sia, you scammed me before.
Yeah.
And you know, and he says it twice. And then they kind of go into details of the scamming. To be fair, Sia does not cover himself in any glory, because Sia says that he thought that they were an exclusive agency running this program in South Africa, and they were running it through an intermediary agency in Dubai. He then says, we actually discovered we weren't the agency, because Cyan Bougie, for example, and Ghost Shlubi and other people were contracted via another marketing agency, not his agency. He has not gone to Russia. He does not know anyone in Russia. His only point of contact is the agency in Dubai. That's one. Two, when this scandal started popping off, in fact, when they started recruiting influencers for this program, Sia got a third party who's friends with Munaka and other individuals to recruit influencers to be part of this program. That's one. Two, his contracts, if they were any, were lacking a lot of clauses, particularly one to protect his agency and the influencers from reputational harm, which is a standard clause in an influencer contract. Normally, if I'm crafting them as the agency, I'll err on the side of indemnification for my agency and indemnification for my client.
So Sia is the agency responsible or in question here.
One of the agencies responsible.
Okay.
Sia, then now the influencers are now speaking from their perspective, and to their credit, I think they do have a point to stand. It's like, hey, my guy, you contracted us. You were in comms before we posted this content. You're on our nuts. Where's the video posting? When's the video getting posted? Videos are posted. Things start going haywire on social media. You don't contact us. You don't tell us what the PR crisis plan is. Like, you're silent throughout all of this. All the while, this story is escalating. It's now reaching governments. What are you doing about it? He then says, we were late. We're now in comms with government, this, that, and the third. Another thing, he doesn't detail which department in government he's speaking to, which individuals in government he's in comms with. Everything is always shrouded with smoke and mirrors. Everything is always shrouded with secrecy. I can't speak on that. I can't mention names. I can't do this. I can't do that. He did not cover himself in any glory in this interview. He also let it slip that his agency is part of the cleanup, and they're flooding the zone with comments to defend the influencers and himself.
That would explain why. So I was about to say, like, I just opened. I was trying to find out where were these YouTube videos and clips. So I opened the YouTube video and I quickly looked at the comments, and most of the comments are like, "Yeah, no, but that Sia guy really held his own, eh?" And I was like, Okay. I'll watch it after this recording and get proper thoughts.
So there was just a lot happening in the video. I think ultimately my takeaway was I can understand Mac G sticking up for his people because Seema is one of his employees. He's going to have a back. It is what it is. But at what point do these influencers also take accountability like, yo, Munaka kind of did in that Mac G episode, which is like, you know what? I didn't do as much due diligence as I should have, clearly. But ultimately, I can't be the only person to take the rap for this. That's a fair thing. But you are all wrong. And also, as influencers, one of the things that they forget or they're overlooking is something doesn't necessarily have to be illegal for it to be wrong. Because as an influencer, you are lending your brand to your credibility, which means if people are paying you for your credibility, you know what the onus is on you? To make sure you protect your damn credibility.
You know, remember, Phil, when at one point we were talking about, it was a jokey conversation, but I think I was saying to you, like, can we even take you seriously in business if you haven't been arrested at least once? And something that I'm learning is the higher up you go in, and by higher, I don't necessarily mean maybe like not necessarily. I don't mean necessarily in corporate or anything like that. I just mean, I guess, in terms of general influence and spaces that people find themselves in, and so on. It seems that what is valued more than a clean reputation is a hustler mindset. So it's almost like some people expect that you should be a little shady. Do you get what I mean?
I get what you're saying. I wouldn't agree.
I don't like that myself, and I also don't agree to a personal level.
I wouldn't agree that that's necessarily the case. I think it's very circumstantial.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think it's very, very, very circumstantial, because keep in mind, like, you are positing this in a very specific set of circumstances. If you are to do a contract with UNESCO, UN, a government agency, any criminal record that cannot be clearly attributed to this was political persecution, and it can be seen to be political persecution, you're not passing the sniff test. You're not getting a job. You're not getting a visa.
So that's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about, okay, to me, when I was talking about the higher up you go, right? I'm imagining, if you imagine let's call it a spectrum of general influence in the corporate sphere is not the right word, but society, and especially if you're in the realm of entertainment or attached to it somehow. The people who get the contracts, the people who start their own businesses, the people who sit in the business meetings, like, some of them are shady. Again, I know this is circumstantial, and honestly, when I was talking about it, I was low-key joking. I was making a jokey statement. But now, sometimes I think about it like, yo, certain people are thriving who should not be thriving in life.
I would push back on it, because the example we're speaking of, even in this issue, these people are not thriving because A, they lost accounts, and B, the reason why people raise the alarm is because they have such bad reputations. They're like, your reputation and this program are not aligning. We know what is going on here.
Yes, we think that. But the people who hire them, is that what they think also? When they hire them, do they view it as, but that proves that he's streetwise?
No, but that then proves it doesn't work. Because if you run this program, and this is the fallout, this, no matter how shady it is, you're still going to get the dum-dums, sadly, who aren't going to do their due diligence, who are always going to get scammed anyway. But anyone who's got a little bit of modicum of common sense, to do a cursory look, to even just ask a friend and say, hey, I saw this program. Do you know anything about it? I'm like, yeah, fam, have you not been following what's going on TikTok and Twitter? It's crazy. Nah. So it's a failure in that regard. Yes, all of us now know about this program, but we all know about this program not because we're going to use it. We know about this program because we need to avoid it. So the dumb people, the the inexperienced marketers, the inexperienced agencies, or the agencies that just want to get a quick buck, they just look at the numbers. And we've dealt with this before many times. Every time we've been in a client meeting, and they're like, we need to run a campaign, and what influences are we getting? Even with reputable companies with lazy marketing managers and lazy teams will always put forward people with just the highest numbers. And it's your job as the agency, and we've done it. We push back and we're like, nah, this influencer does not work for your brand because of A, B, C, D, E. This influencer does because of A, B, C, D. They may not have the bigger numbers, but they fit the profile of the people you're trying to reach. And that's where I'm like, yes, infamy has always worked. Infamy has always helped. And I don't think it's a new phenomenon. We just have new channels to reach it. Bonnie and Clyde were famous. You know what I mean? Billy and the Sundance Kid were famous. People that were criminals, people that were shady, had a level of infamy, and they also had a level of notoriety, popularity, and fandom. That is not a new thing. But everything comes at a cost. And this is the cost. In the same way, any popular gangster, like the original Teflon Don, John Gotti. John Gotti was famous in New York, right? He was popular. But John Gotti could not endorse a mayoral candidate because people were like, wait a minute, what? And that's the same thing that's happening here.
I feel like there's a lot more nuance to what I'm describing. And I'm not, because you're not, there's nothing you're saying that I disagree with or want to push back on. But I'm just talking about, sometimes reputations, I think there's certain things that you should have a reputation for, like being good at your job and whatever. And in this case, there's other discussions to be had. But being clean, I think it should be that way. And I want to maintain a good reputation of, that dude doesn't get involved in shady stuff. But I seem to have seen too many times that people who have a reputation of getting, like, there's so many times where I'm like, seriously? That's who you pick.
I don't disagree. I think you're very right. I've seen that. I'm like, as long as you provide value to the people who need the value, they don't care what you've done. It's like the arcade phenomenon.
No, I think it's further. It's more than that. I think because sometimes there's almost equal levels of value provided. But what is it that made you choose that person over the other one? So I'll give you a very simple example, and I'm going to obfuscate as much as possible because these are people that I'm going to be working with. So there was a particular agency that was needed for a particular campaign, and then I was just told that this is the agency that I'll be working with. So I was like, wait, as in that person? It was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, but why? I was like, no, I mean, it seemed to make sense. I was like, but there's so many agencies. Why that one specifically? I don't know, just thought that was the one that would make sense. So for me, that conversation, I was like, it's you didn't choose that because it provides more value to you. You didn't choose it because you have a personal relationship. You chose it because of the infamy. Like, that was the reason that made you choose it. So, and I was confused a little bit because I was like, there's like a lot of options. Why that one? Anyway, so that was just a quick side note, and we were just following up on the conversation that we had last week. And I don't think let's not spend too much time on this story today. But yeah, long story short, there's been a lot of recanting, and I saw people were talking about like the apologies and stuff, and I don't think anyone was really accepting any apologies.
There weren't many real apologies given.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I really want to highlight is just as individuals, we must also be like, let's also not just believe. In fact, it sucks, but if it's something on the internet, like you got to question. Like, come on. Also, by the way, influencers are like the biggest gatekeepers.
Meaning?
Unless they get paid.
What do you mean gatekeepers? I don't understand what that means.
By the very nature of the way the job works, right? An influencer, especially when they get big, when they're coming up, it's a bit different, but when they get big, they're never going to talk about something, seemingly endorse anything, promote anything unless they're paid. And if it's never going to be a genuine, like, hey, here's this cool thing I found. You guys should check it out. Because my job or the way I earn money is by endorsing things. So I'm not going to give it away for free. So that means because influencers are the biggest gatekeepers, i.e. even if they did genuinely enjoy something, even if they did find something cool or something amazing or something interesting, they're not going to, because you have to pay me to talk about it. Ergo, and of course this is a generalization, but ergo, if they are talking about something, it means they were paid to do it. And if you know that they were paid to do it, then you got to be a lot more, just a little, like, question things a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think this goes down to media literacy, ultimately. And it's something that we've discussed on this podcast many, many times. So, being paid or using your influence or your following to speak on something that you're paid to speak on, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Not at all.
So, and this is where I revert back to your credibility as an influencer. And a good example of this in the tech space is Lou from Unbox Therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Many, many years ago, Lou was the biggest tech reviewer in the world. Lou was the first one to 10 million. I think, him and Linus were racing. But keep in mind, Lou was just Lou. Linus has a whole team, multiple hosts, multiple programming. And Lou was one of the first to 10 million. And then Lou started becoming a shill for products, where he never had anything negative to say about a product. Every time he would review or open a product, it was essentially like a paid showcase. And the viewers quickly started realizing, wait a minute, this guy never actually reviews the product or says anything bad about the product. He just speaks on them, shows the features, and then moves on to the next thing. And very quickly, Lou started losing his influence.
Mm-hmm.
And then pages like Linus overtook him. Obviously, Marquez overtook him. What's his name? Aaron, the guy from UK. What's his name again? I'm forgetting his name. Aaron's channel. The Asian British guy.
Oh, not Orange. The turquoise.
Arun is his name, not Orange. Arun.
I don't know his name, but I know the one you're talking about. The one where they love that. He loves that aquamarine blue turquoise color.
No, you're talking of the other black guy who stays in New Jersey. I'm talking of the
Asian dude. Okay, let me quickly look him up. Dave.
But anyway,
Dave 2D.
Huh? No, Dave 2D is not British, okay. Dan.
No, you said Asian guy.
I said, okay, never mind. Anyway, all these other channels, it's like we're listing a number of channels, as you guys can hear. These channels have overtaken him. And part of the reason was people stopped trusting Lou, myself included, to be objective about the products he was talking about. People still test these other platforms. And that's the catch-22, is you are allowed to speak on products because, for example, as someone who's very tech-savvy, not very, let's say moderately tech-savvy, you'll see a lot of ads for, I'm not going to mention their name because they're not advertising, but products that say, we are going to delete your information from online. We're going to protect your data and remove your data from all these data collection services that are selling your data to third parties, blah, 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 blah. If you know anything about these services and how they work, they're doing something that you could do yourself in a matter of moments.
Well,
depending on which state you are. There's actually a very detailed breakdown on the site. I can show you. Some of these services are actually not doing anything of substance.
Yeah.
Because also what you're doing is, if Dan has data that a third party, let's just say an aggregator or a market
data broker,
as a data broker has sold it to a platform, and they're like, oh, we've got it, we're going to delete it. You know what they'll do? They'll acknowledge that deletion and they'll just re-enter Dan's data, because Dan's data is sold in tranches. It's not like it doesn't get deleted from every individual thing. Like, just on ad networks, there's the Google ad network, there's the Facebook ad network. Apple also has an ad network, by the way. There's an ad network in your TV run by Samsung. There's a Hisense ad network. All of these networks already have PII, personally identifiable information, on multiple people, including Dan. So deleting that doesn't save Dan from all this. And this doesn't also include the information that's collected by insurance companies, banks, his mobile operator. There's a litany of places you can get it. So those services don't actually do anything of substance. Yes, they help for the non-tech savvy, but it's more so security theater.
Is that accurate, Phil? Because Okay, since we bring it up, I mean, it is a bit of a nerdy conversation, but we may as well get into it. So Phil's talking about services that exist, like the one that's currently being advertised a lot called Delete Me, right? The idea is your information is all over the internet, so you can use this service to delete your personal information, secure your privacy, all of that. Now, while I agree that number one, it's not foolproof, it doesn't completely delete you from everywhere. The idea that you can do it yourself, while technically true, for most people is also not viable. Like most people don't have several hours per week to sit down and get in touch with every single potential data broker and then, follow all the various steps that they require for you to request your blah, 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 blah.
The point I'm getting to is the only data brokers that are going to delete your data are the data brokers who are going to comply with laws.
Yes.
Those are not the only data brokers on the planet.
In fact, you might even argue that the majority, it's already a very shady business to be in. But still, I mean, I think, okay. Wearing a seatbelt doesn't 100% prevent you from dying. Using Delete Me doesn't 100% clear you up from the internet, but it can save you a lot of trouble. Now, I'm not endorsing it or putting it focus. You can do it by yourself. And in my opinion, it's also, you're fighting a losing battle, by the way. At this stage, unless you're a hermit, your information is everywhere anyway. So even if you delete it briefly, it's going to be right back there very soon. But, so personally, I don't think it's a valuable service. But I don't think it's accurate to say that they don't actually offer a service that someone could pay for and get value out of.
They aren't deleting your data from the internet. They are deleting it from certain data brokerages. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not truly significant. And what I'm saying there is, it's like someone selling a supplement.
Yeah,
and they're like, and a body like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Maybe we can discuss later. Dwayne The Rock Johnson is like, yo, this supplement, I take it. This is what helps me get jacked. On the surface, yes, but you're also lying. There's a lot of other things that go into you being that jacked. Time in the gym, diet, sleep, equipment, maybe narcotics of some sort. And this thing is a small sliver in the big stack that makes you as big as you are. And that's what I'm saying is Delete Me and the other services are a small stack to help protecting your data. But it's not a once-off thing. And my point being is, so because of marketing, they are positioned as, if you're worried about your data being out there, here's your solution. No, this is one of the solutions you can explore. And these are the services provided, because ultimately they're overselling what they do. And the whole reason we're down this rabbit hole is I can accept that from some influencers and sometimes, because I'm like, listen, you guys got bills to pay. I bet. Do I believe you believe Raycon earbuds are the best earbuds on the market? Of course not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you've got bills to pay. It is what it is. I get it. And I'm willing to trade it off. But now, instead of it being an ad, if you're like, yo guys, I've just reviewed the new Raycon earbuds and God, these things wipe the Sony WHs out of the water. That's when I'm like, blast. I just like, you're a little too much chip on your dip. And that's what ultimately, bringing it back to this discussion, was the Alabuga thing. It's like, fam, Cyan Bougie, school. Cyan Bougie in school. You know what you believe? Professional training, Cyan Bougie. Well, guys, let's be serious here. This is oil and water, my guy.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on from this Alabuga Russia what program. Let's move on to something less embarrassing, Phil. Here in Zimbabwe, this week, the National Railways of Zimbabwe, NRZ, announced a new rail leisure service that was going to be happening between Harare and Mutare. The service would have refurbished luxury coaches. It costs $60 from Harare to Mutare. So
wait.
They posted on their.
I'm sorry.
They posted on their official platforms.
Sorry, $60.
60.
So half the price of the overpriced flight.
The flight is 85, by the way.
And also, considering that train cut, I'm assuming that train ride is about 6 to 8 hours.
No, but you're not paying just for the practicality. You're paying for the experience, fool. You're paying for
To sit on my grandmother's couch.
the comfort,
To sit on
the
my grandmother's couch.
luxury. And really, you're paying for your status.
To sit on a Nyore Zimbabwe furniture's couch from 1994.
You're paying for the status symbol that you receive.
With that gyros GDS furniture, come on, man. Huh? I saw those photos and in my mind I was just thinking, shop it power sales where your money buys you more.
Anyway, if you haven't seen the pictures, please just search NRZ or Zimbabwe train or something.
Nah, guys, I'm tired of being bad. I think that's where the album is. The
thing is, when someone posted it in our Patreon group, who posted it? Making a joke about
Of
your...
course it was Titch. Titch is just the message of the
When Titch posted it, I thought, someone has been using nano banana, ha ha ha, lol lol lol. You know,
oh, you naive.
I really dismissed it as, someone is messing around. Why are you guys always trying to embarrass us as a country by posting these photoshopped images or these AI like, why y'all gotta do this to us? That ain't cool, guys. Then
Not cool.
as I was scrolling through my Twitter, I saw someone repost the NRZ tweet and say, so it was real. I was like, wait. Phil, you don't understand the way I dismissed it. I didn't even go check to verify or whatever. In my mind, I was like, people be tripping. Lol. It's real. If anything, the picture that was circulating looks to have been airbrushed a little.
The curtains. Yo. Okay, you know what? We've got to describe this image to our listeners. If you haven't seen this image, right?
Let me
guys,
pull it up.
listen.
Yeah.
Okay, let me set the scene. Imagine you are going to visit your grandmother or an elderly relative. You enter their living room, and they've got those ironically enough, those pre-colonial NRZ homes. If you've ever had a relative that worked for the NRZ or any government institution, you know the homes I'm describing. Those cookie cutter homes with the polished floors. Sometimes they had wood, and then if you were lucky and you made some money, you would have renovated, put some tile in there. It would have been carpet. that carpeted living room, and you look. There's a room divider there, the display case where there's that glass, those glasses that no one touches, and there's the cat, the porcelain cat. And the porcelain dog, and you look to the wall. You're
describing opulence compared to this.
Then, but keep in mind, these were bought during the times of Chi. Nyore. During the times of Chi, Radio Limited, when you could buy on credit. They have not been able to upgrade since then. You now look to the windows. The curtains are looking a little tattered, a little frayed. You know what I mean? The runners are a little bended. All right? And you look at the sofa. The sofa is brown. It's a brown corduroy sofa. If you like immediately in your mind,
corduroy.
You now know what we are dealing with. You understand it's that 4-piece furniture where you've got the 2-seater and you've got the 2 1-seaters, or you've got the 3-seater, the 2-seater, and the 1-seater. You know the lounge suite I'm talking about because we all have relatives who have it. Now, imagine that same sofa, that same lounge suite, and what you've done, and you've taken the curtains, by the way. So you take the curtains, you take the lounge suite, and you're like, yo, let's put these in an empty train carriage. You don't even bother fixing the sofa to the floor. It's not bolted down. It's not mounted. There's no like seat belt around it. Remember that meme of when Cyril Ramaphosa had to catch a Prasa train during the campaign, and he's got like 4 different seat belts around him, and people were like making fun of him. You don't even have that. You don't even have seat belts or nothing. You're just in a train, raw dogging a sofa that's not fastened to anything. So the moment the driver has 8 emergency brakes, trust and believe, you and him are going to get very acquainted very quickly because you're sliding all the way to the front. That's what we're describing. I don't know, Jan, are there any other pieces I've missed out regarding vis-a-vis the furnishings in the train carriage?
I know this is not the most important thing, But sometimes the thing is, sometimes we get involved in online scuffles with other nations. Remember when we had a Twitter war with Kenya, Phil?
Boy, do I.
We would never survive in this day and age. And I'm really upset. I'm really upset because the kids will never know the joy that we had because they can't.
There's no pride in being Zimbabwean. There's no pride.
So, okay. The other thing I wanted to mention. Phil, imagine you're at a stage where you want to recruit someone for the business, right? Mm-hmm. And you decide, you know what? I want to get someone to work in marketing. The thing is, I'm meeting with a lot of clients, but they're way more than I can handle by myself. I need someone to assist. I want this person to spend some time with potential investors, clients, pitch, close deals, etc. So, you start going through CVs. You find someone who's, okay, this person, studied this in school. They got distinctions in all their marks. They went and did an internship at such and such a place. They have all the trappings to showcase that, you know what? This person could get it. This person could absolutely they understand the theory. They're probably proficient maybe with using certain CRM tools that you want to integrate into your organization. So theoretically, that could be a good person to come and do marketing. So you call them in for an interview. And when you start doing the interview, well, first of all, you realize that, okay, this is not a basis for you to hire or not hire someone, but we all have implicit biases. So maybe the first thing that you think of is that dreaded word that we've maybe banned from this podcast, but I'll say it anyway at this point. This person's a bit gouache. But look, that doesn't disqualify anyone. But it's something that you note in the middle of your interview. As you continue with the interview, you realize that, you know what? This person has never left Zimbabwe in their entire life. Mm-hmm. Maybe that sets off a bit of red flags for you because you know that that means your mindset is only limited to what you know from here. But again, it's still not a reason not to completely hire someone, right? As you're talking, you realize, okay, this person let's say they live somewhere they live in a generally rough part of town. Again, still not a reason not to hire someone. But the profile that you're building of this person is, could this person realistically be on a golf course with the CEO of a potential client? Mm-hmm. Could I trust that this person from a purely understands the theory of marketing and closing deals and so on, sure. But could this person go onto a golf course with the CEO of a client that you met, that you've started building, and you now want someone to close the deal, so you send your marketing person that you've hired? Could they understand, hey, let's meet for brunch at such and such a place? You might start having questions because you're like, I feel like as smart as you are and as driven as you are, there's certain exposure that you're just lacking that stops you from fully understanding certain things. Maybe if you're a kind person, you might want to give them that exposure, but it's a bit of a risk, right? But you would genuinely be like, I find it very difficult to imagine that someone who I'm trying to close a deal with, who is potentially a high roller, travels the world, drives a fancy car, will be able to relate to this marketing person that you might hire who is completely alien to that world. That's what I thought of when I saw this. Because I was like, did the people who were designing the luxury, perhaps they went to school, perhaps they passed, do they have an understanding of what luxury is? Or is it theoretical? There's plenty of expensive things and things that are labeled luxury that are tacky. I would even take that. So I'm not even talking about classy or well put together or well thought out or whatever. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about if this is supposed to be a luxury train ride that costs $60, right? And presumably we are talking about hundreds of passengers traveling weekly from Harare to Mutare. And I think this was launched as part of like some tourism thing. So there's supposed to be a level of tourism attached to this. We're supposed to be expecting people flying into the country to go and experience the Eastern Highlands. Our tourists are going to come onto this they're going to buy a $60 ticket for a luxury train ride, and that's where they're going to go. And I'm just like, I feel like the person who designed it is that person who maybe went to school but didn't actually expose themselves to the concepts of luxury.
So this is why I like Dan. Granted, it was a very long setup. Dan always looks for the best in people. But Dan is also like an intelligent person. Sometimes Dan is so intelligent. He can intelligentize himself into a bad thought process because he'll find a way to make it make sense. And all I'll say to you, Dan, is that may very well be true. But you know what happens with all those people? They have a well-paid boss who travels on a government stipend that they report to. And those well-paid bosses that they report to have all experienced, at the very least, the Gautrain, which is not even luxury. It's just transit. They've experienced the Gautrain. They've experienced the Blue Train. They've experienced some form of business class. They've experienced an airport lounge. They've experienced an airport shuttle. They've experienced at least a 4 to 5 star hotel in some form or fashion at some point in time.
Have they?
Yes, they are. Because Dan, what are they going to Mutare for? Keep in mind, remind yourself, what are they going to Mutare for?
Isn't it a tourism expo?
Thank you, Dan. A tourism expo. And you know what the tourism expo has? People who are experienced in tourism. We know some of the people that are involved in this. You know some of the people that in past would have been involved in this. Those people, yes, they're underlings. We understand. Government jobs don't pay. You're very right. That is very correct. Government jobs don't pay. So the only people that are actually going to accept these entry-level jobs are the people that are really desperate. And for the most part, it's going to be people that are coming from a somewhat impoverished background. And that is true. You may not have experienced it. And it's going to be very difficult for you to sell luxury and tourism when you yourself can't afford luxury or any form of tourism. But you know what always happens? You're going to have to submit this proposal to someone who has experienced luxury and tourism because it's their government mandate to experience luxury and tourism so they can sell it here.
Bold of you to assume that there were proposals and paperwork involved in the EFL.
This is one thing I've learned, Dan, as someone who's dealt with government. We showed our government. Our government has many flaws, but one thing our government does have in abundance, and there's people even in the Patreon group who can back us up, is, oh my God, we've got systems with checks and balances, trust and belief. Trust and belief. When you're an underling, oh no, Dan, for our chef, different story. But for my underling, trust and belief, Panama checks and balances, they are there.
Okay, approvals need to be obtained, all of that, I understand. But checks and balances is going far.
I know. When they want to execute my checks and balances, trust and believe. They'll bring up. You're like, but guys, I've been parking in this parking bay for 2 years. They're like, yeah, and you are wrong. And we knew it. Now we want you gone. We are bringing you up on that issue.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, we're going to have to call it a wrap. We've been recording for a minute. Granted, there were a few errors, but yeah, this was great. I don't know. Oh, I need to do a follow-up on the TV segment. So after we discussed our top 5 sitcoms, which is a great little discussion we had, a lot of people brought up Family Matters. And I was like, guys, Family Matters only had 2 good seasons. And I was being generous. And you know what? I feel like sometimes I have a rap for being a know-it-all, being a little stubborn. And I'm trying to change that. So you know what I did then? I started watching Family Matters again. Whoo, guys, Family Matters it's a bad show, but it's corny. So it's like, you know, Family Matters is like watching Hannah Montana.
For its time, Phil.
No, but even for its time, it was not great. Like, it was bad, but it was funny. Like and Jaleel White saved that show. There's some episodes where the only thing that was good about this episode was Steve Urkel, and even sometimes he's doing too much. But without him, oh man, and they're heavy with the. It's also it's heavy on the feel good factor, but it's literally like kids show feel good factor which I was saying is like Hannah Montana. It's like Carl Winslow is really a good dad, but he's also a cop. You know?
I would never count it in my GOAT or top conversations or anything like that. But
it's not a bad, like, it's a fun watch. But I think, like, if you were to put Family Matters on to a kid who doesn't have the nostalgia of it, they would sure right. Remember that time, like, I think a year back when I was babysitting my nieces, and I tried to get them into, because we watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, the new one, and I was like, guys, you know, like, this is based on an old cartoon that I grew up with. I'm like, no way, and I was like, yeah. And I tried to get them to watch the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They tapped out after 3 minutes. They're like, what is this, bruh? This is nonsense.
Yeah. Okay. I guess if we are out of time, we would have talked about this whole Holy 10 situation, but, you know, frankly, I'm tired of speaking about that guy.
To be fair, okay, give me the clip. You know, I don't.
No, we can leave it. That's fine. Holy 10 is wild.
Like every week.
Yeah, it is what it is. He's wilding again. He does it all the time. We are used to it at this point.
Oh, by the way, Dan, I designed like a YouTube tracker, which I think I want to start figuring out what to do with it. So, like, it's been tracking all the music videos across the continent that are doing well, and I've been using it to build my reports and stuff, using Vertex and Data Studio for Google. Do you want to see what the biggest songs in Zimbabwe are?
Let me know.
Okay, and you see, this is the great thing. So let me load up here. For Zimbabwe, Kadia Migumba featuring Keita and PKMZ. Okay. Then we've got Maporisa's Uvela Ma Weekend, Ghana, Jazzworks, and then DJ Skizo, Holy 10 with Wazora, Prince Chiguida with Ndirenge Mambo.
But I mean, you know, YouTube just provides country charts as well, right?
Yes, but it doesn't give me historical charts. So with this now, I've built a dashboard. I can go back as far as 3 months. I can do comparative data with how we're comparing with views in South Africa. I can go full continent wide. When we get a chance, I'll show it to you. It's actually, it didn't take that long to build, but it's very useful because I'm trying to build this, and then I'm trying to plug into the APIs for Spotify as well. Because one thing that I'm sure you remember is we don't have charts, and it's now very easy. Not very, but there are ways to build your own charts. Thanks to like. If they don't have an API, if they don't give you an API, you can create an AI agent to just go out and get the charts for you every day, and then just build a database that way. So that's what I've been doing as well.
I don't imagine there's a lot of people in Zim using Spotify. Oh, the other thing we didn't talk about, Phil, was cars being tinted.
This
doesn't matter.
This is just for Zimbabwe. This is for the whole of Africa. So I've been building this dashboard for pretty much any country that consumes African music. En masse.
Yeah, please share the charts. Look, let's take this opportunity to end it. It will be, it's still a solid episode. I was about to say it's a bit shorter than usual, but you know, other people only give you episodes this long. Anyway, doesn't matter. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Two Broke Twimbos. We had a lot of technical hitches and glitches and challenges today, but we are here. Thank you once again for supporting the podcast. If you would like to increase your level of support, you can do so as a Patreon member. All you got to do is go to twobroketwimbos.com/donate, and you can become a Patreon member. It's only $5 a month and up. The lowest tier is $5 a month. You can also give us a once-off donation if we talked about something you like or something you care about. We would greatly appreciate it if you just give us your support, let us know that you love us, etc., etc. In addition, you can also support us by dropping a comment, leaving a like, retweeting, resharing, reposting. Phil refused to do video. We're supposed to do video, but next time. We'll figure it out. Next time. I guess that's it. At this point, Phil, we can wrap it up here, I think, and catch up again next week.
All right, man. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget, if you got any questions, please hit us up at twobrotimbers.com/contact, and we'll be in touch.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we'll catch you in the next one. We out.